lots to show you.
Hell yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. Tonight is Wednesday night, as usual, and we do a show every Wednesday, as it said in the intro. And then we do shows on Fridays. Seth and I, we are doing Jason X on Friday, I guess, to keep with the X theme. So check us out Friday around 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. And last week we did an episode on the movie Pearl from director Ty West. And I got to say, it was a really good conversation. I think we all really enjoyed the movie Pearl. Now we may as well do the sequel, right? So we're going to do, our breakdown, I guess. I'm a little tired. I apologize. Low energy today. Our breakdown. We've got a scene that Nate handpicked to go over. I've got a few questions, and that's it. We're gonna do our breakdown. So I made this video, and I'm proud of what I do, I guess, because I keep playing them. Obviously, it's not next week. It's today. But I didn't want to re-edit it. So let me bring the guys in. We've got Seth. Seth, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm tired. Slow to respond. Are you ready to talk about Ty West's third best movie?
Sure.
I'm going to say third best. Oddly enough, I put it in our group chat, but a year ago today, we talked about The House of the Devil on the show, which is Ty West's film, my favorite of his films, which I think Pearl might be number 2. It's hard. I got to rewatch House of the Devil, and I'll do a little Ty West ranking. So, Nathan, how are you doing? Nathan, by the way, if anybody didn't know, he's a star.
I am.
Yes.
I can dance very well.
Yeah.
I have good legs. How y'all doing?
I'm in the same boat you are. I'm exhausted. I went and picked up some pizza for the kids, and it's maybe a 8-minute drive. I think I yawned 47 times. I'm seriously, as you know how sometimes time flies when you're just driving. You're like, how I got here fast? It's I think it almost felt like I teleported because I just yawned the whole way. Anyway, so we're talking about X tonight, and I dig this movie, not as much as I liked Pearl. I think Pearl is the better movie, but I definitely want to get your guys' impressions and first impressions of the film when you saw it. I wore my Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt, almost said suit, because I don't have an X shirt, and it takes place in the 70s in Texas, right?
And I wanted an X shirt, but since it was A24, all the shirts were $40 a piece, $50 a piece. They were some really cool shirts that A24 put out, but they were all just very, very expensive.
Well, just make your own. Just draw your own and get it printed out.
You call it Fright Rags. So, hey,
you need me to make some shirts. I'll make some X and Pearl shirts. So, I want to ask Seth, can you give us the synopsis of this movie?
It's a group of people who want to make an artsy porno. They seriously, so the little farmhouse, I suppose, and they don't, tell the owners what they're doing, but so they go to make their artsy porno, and just happens that the wife of the the homeowner gets all sex nuts and retard strong and starts.
I did not expect that.
Canceled.
I mean, I know what it's from, but my God. I didn't expect you to say that. Go ahead and finish.
Take two.
All right. So yeah, spoiler alert. It's the same farmhouse from Pearl. If you've seen Pearl, it takes place how many years after Pearl? Like 60 or so.
No, yeah, about 60. Yeah.
Yeah. So Pearl's in her 80s and Howard's in his 80s, and they're gonna make porno. And pornos can be classy, apparently. Personally, I've never seen like a full porno movie ever. Like they mentioned, they name dropped Debbie Does Dallas. I've never seen that. I mean, what? I don't care about a story. You know, I want to get in and out and do my thing. So,
Not gonna last more than 15 seconds in it.
yeah, I need at least about 2 minutes prep. But yeah, there definitely are some. I see. Yeah, that's actually really good. X has a mix of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Boogie Nights. And I like that, and I like the cast, and I like the way it's set up. You know, you got the director producer guy who is. Does he run the strip club?
I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, where Mia Goth again. Mia Goth is in this, and she has another great performance. Although I think I prefer her performance in Pearl over this, but I do like Maxxxine. And then Brittany Snow, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Who, if you haven't seen a movie called Would You Rather, check that out. It's a good movie, and it has a porno tie because one of the girls in it's Sasha something or other, Sasha Grey, I think. She's a porno person. Anyway, now I got boobs on my mind. So yeah, so this movie, you know, they go out to this farmhouse to make the story, and we meet Howard right away, and you know, shit goes down. Let's just put it that way. So, like I said, I want to get first impressions and if you like the movie. Nate, what did you think overall when you saw this one?
Yeah, I really liked it. We went to the theater and saw it. I thought it was one of the best slasher films I'd seen in a long time. Very well made. Ty West obviously knows the genre. He knows filmmaking. The only other thing is, I know my wife was very embarrassed to be watching the film. She said it was just awkward with all the sex scenes in it. You know? So that's what I remember her being comfortable about that.
Silhouette of the penis in the doorway. He was endowed.
It's almost like being in a porn theater because I mean, there's like 3 porn scenes in it, you know.
Yeah,
where they're full blown moaning, and you know, it's not like movie porn. It's like it's porn, you know.
Yeah, for the most part. And Brittany, she even wipes
yeah
off of herself, which is that's, you know, it gives you a little bit of the immersion into the movie. That's 3-star movie going to a 4 because of Mia Goth. Yeah, she's a definite standout. I there you go. Jody loved it. She really was into the porn scenes. I have no idea. I'm joking. I don't know you, so I should say that. Seth, what about you? You're on mute, by the way. I don't know if you know that. You muted yourself.
Mia Goth's first lead role, by the way, too.
Yeah, and
kind of crazy because she's so talented and there's been a lot of hype about her for years before this.
Yeah, and she's finally coming into her own, and I love it. So, Seth, you're unmuted now. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I really liked it. I know you guys have heard this many times before, but I went into it blind, and I didn't know what to expect. And it was a little awkward for me because there was only a couple other people in the theater, but like one of them was like this old lady who was like right across the aisle from me. So that was a little weird. And she stayed through the whole thing. She didn't, but I was worried that she was gonna, go Pearl on me. So that was weird.
You look over, she's 10 seats away. You look over again,
It's right next to you.
rubbing on your shoulder. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Dancing around.
Yeah.
But
don't you look at me.
Howard.
Yeah. But I did I did really like it. I liked the way that while it did remind me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre as far as the visual aesthetic, it was its own original story. It was something I haven't seen before, and it was a little, of course it was weird, especially that one sex scene where Howard finally gives it to her. But
he is
definitely. I thought it was really cool.
Saying.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
You can see his
I really and yeah. I got a delay just so you guys know.
Huh? It's not that bad. It's not you, it's me. I was talking about Howard's ass and how his cheeks were getting tight and you could see he was thrusting, and this is what happens when I'm on 3 hours of sleep. So you came in late just like Howard. We're talking about X, the Ty West movie from last year. Sorry, I forgot to mention this is
how
what we're
you get
talking
when we're tired.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should like
tired drunk.
Pull an all-nighter every time we do a show. Seth really enjoyed the grandma porn. He did. Little known secret about Seth. He loves. It makes him get his the armpit sweat. It's been a long time since we've seen some Dennis Quaid from. Oh, don't worry about Seth. He'll be fine. All right. Anyway, so as we do on this show, we like to have fun, obviously. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, please. That way we can get more people laughing at my whatever. Yeah. I have a good question about Howard later. Actually, one of the things I wanted to say was you also have Jenna Ortega in this, and I think because of seeing her in Scream 5, that's one of the things that kind of got me. I was like, okay, and I saw her in the second Babysitter movie. I'm like, okay, so she's starting to become kind of a horror scream queen type of thing. So this might be good, and I knew of that Mia Goth was in. Suspiria
and Cure for Wellness.
Was she in Nymphomaniac?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew of her a little bit, but then Brittany Snow is somebody that I've had like a kind of a crush on, and I was like, X, I wonder if this is going to be like, about a porno, and if we're going to get to see her boobs, and we did finally after decades of wanting to see her topless. I got to see it. By the way, anybody new to the show, I talk about boobs too much. Or is it not enough? So anyway, as we always do, we break these down into categories, and we don't have Jared, unfortunately, on for his tidbits and stuff. Let's just get into the story aspect of this movie and what we thought of the story, because in a way, like last time I watched these, I watched Pearl and then X back to back. And I do think this sets up Pearl though very well. But what did you guys think of the overall story? It feels like it's less of a story versus Pearl, but still overall not bad.
I don't know if it's less of a story.
Let's to the story. I
It's,
mean,
it's I mean, it's a similar thing. We've got a girl who, Maxxine, who thinks that doing this porn film is going to make her a big star. Much like Pearl thought that she was going to be a big star by going on some church dance recital thing for Girls
Yeah.
Texas. It's like this guy has fed her that she is special and she is a star and she's going to be huge. And every guy who got a camera for the last 40 years, 50 years or so, thinks that they're going to take on Hollywood and make stars and make huge films. So it's another case of another thing where it's like Maxxine is taking this as serious as Pearl was taking the competition or the audition, uh, because the rest of these people aren't taking it that seriously. Maxxine is there to be a fucking star. She's off, and so it's an interesting thing. But I think Pearl works because it's a solitary single character study of her, and it follows her. But I mean, the movie really deals with age, and one day it's going to be gone, and the fear of that, and there's a lot of stuff that touches on that in the movie. Just out in the dialogue, or even in the music selections. Like, there's a great scene where Brittany Snow sings "Landslide" by Nyx, and that song was written. Stevie was trying to decide if she was going to go back to school or stay with Lindsey Buckingham and keep going with the music career. I guess this was before Fleetwood Mac, before they got with them. They were just a duo. And she said their whole life kind of, she was looking out the window at these mountains and was thinking about an avalanche and how everything that had happened at that point, it was like a landslide of their lives. And the song talks about getting older, and I'm getting older too, and landslide bring me down. And so, and it's one of the saddest scenes in the scene because it does that split screen of Pearl, where she'd put on the makeup, she put on eyeshadow, and then she kind of wipes it all off because she sees, like, it's just time's passed her by. She's not young and beautiful like these girls are anymore. And I think and it may even be the moment where she decided, like, she's snapping again when she wipes off that makeup. But yeah, I think it's a good story. But I think Pearl is a better platform for storytelling because of you just having that one character to really develop.
This almost is more of an ensemble versus Pearl, which highly focuses, because Mia Goth really isn't the standout Maxxine as much in this. There's a lot of the movie that I thought was, not necessarily focused on Jenna Ortega's character, but it seemed like she got a lot of the focus early. And I didn't know if that was supposed to, throw us off or something like that. But obviously, leading into the next movie, which we saw a little, I don't know what you call it, at the end of Pearl, that Maxxine's getting her own movie. By the way, Kevin Bacon is going to be in Maxxine, apparently, and Giancarlo Esposito. So a couple of heavyweights going to be in the next movie. And
Jenna is built as the typical final girl. She's the church mouse. But he doesn't spend enough time to fool us into thinking that she's the final girl. I don't think, because she's kind of just there observing. And I think it's kind of clear that Mia Goth is the star or the main character of the film.
I was going to say, I thought if you
like in the 2 movies last year, like, she kind of shares final girl roles with another actor. Like in Scream, it's her sister and her, and like they kind of split, especially in the new one, where it's like a duo final girl situation.
I was just thinking that when I was watching X, I I don't know, maybe my focus was more on Jenna Ortega, especially in that scene where she goes in the house and gets locked in the basement and all that stuff. But then I like thinking about it a little bit more when like I like the Randy has his rules from Scream. As soon as she decides to be in the movie, that was doom for her. I felt like like it had to be doom for her. But it just it also it fucked up her boyfriend, which led to one of the coolest cinematography can't talk scenes in the movie when with the red lights and everything like that. Seth, what did you think? I gotta go. I'll be right back. Right back.
What did I think about what?
Because I guess the story.
Okay. Well, I lost my connection. My computer got in the spirit of the movie and decided to fuck me. So
you first.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the story was good. It was pretty creative. Just the idea of these people trying to make an artsy porno. I thought that was kind of clever. The whole thing with Jenna Ortega's character, I at first thought they were building her up to be the final girl, but I mean, there's like one scene in particular where Mia Goth's character Maxxxine just kind of wanders off, and we follow her. So I thought that was a pretty good indication that she was supposed to be the main character. Maybe they were trying to fool the people, who believe in the rules of Scream of, the pure one is the one who's, the main character and all that. But
none of them nice girls.
Yeah. No, well, that's what I like about this too. Is like all the characters are flawed, and it's kind of like a rarity these days where they do that. And I thought the story was good.
I just feel like I have to correct you about all the characters are flawed because there is one character that is not flawed in the movie, and that's Jackson. Nothing wrong with that character. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Like
you should have saw that shotgun blast coming, though.
I know. I mean, I know. I felt that coming. Like you could see Howard. Like when they met him, he obviously is an old racist.
Yeah.
Like that. We're deep in the heart of Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas.
New Zealand.
Yeah, I felt that coming, and they go off on their own. I was like, this is not going to be good, And we already know, like Pearl, because she has her little moment, right, with we know that she's killing, but we're not sure about Howard. But at the same time, it felt like, the way he was looking at the black guy comes out and his dick's all hanging out and shit, like, like I felt like this is not going to end well.
I kind of felt like the movie was building Howard as the threat, and Pearl was like scared to come out, scared to like. Now we know Pearl because it's came out. But I think
especially when he went to the market or whatever.
Yeah, you just kind of suspect Howard because he is kind of cantankerous and kind of mean and doesn't like them. And
we're
making the movie called The Farmer's Daughter, and they're talking about the farm. He is the farmer's dad, the daughter's dad, or the farmer basically in this scenario. He's going to get a shotgun and shoot you. Something that Seth said that I think is really interesting about the film. He talked about how they wanted to make a classy porno, which really sums up. It's like that guy as a stand-in for Ty West, because Ty West's whole reason for writing this movie, he said he never wanted to make a slasher, but he wondered, could he take something cheap like a slasher film, because slasher films are kind of like the pornos of horror. They're the cheap exploitative trash of the genre. And he's like, can I take that and take that lowbrow and make it with really good filmmaking and make it better, which is what the guy's saying he wants to do with porn. And the relationship of porn and horror at that time, because he's because he's talking about, video, home video, VHS coming, and VHS, the VHS boom that came in the late 70s and early 80s when this movie is set in 79 really benefited the porn filmmakers and the horror filmmakers, especially the slasher films, the cheapy video nasty type stuff.
I mean, that's how most of us cut our teeth on horror was VHS.
So VHS opened up doors for nobodies to pick up a camera and make a movie, and make money, and that's what he's doing, and that's what the horror, this genre, the slasher genre. Halloween made a bunch of money in 78. Debbie Does Dallas made a lot of money in 1978. Boom, slashers, porns.
That was 78.
Yeah, Debbie Does Dallas came out in 78. It made like 50,000 or so, 50,000 copies.
This guy knowing about porno.
Huh?
I said, listen to this guy knowing all about porno.
I did my research because I thought it was important.
I'm not just messing with you.
It was important parallel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because again, slashers are kind of I feel it's the porn of the genre. You don't look at Dracula movies and go, oh, that's, unless you're looking at Hammer. But if you look at
come on.
But but horror was like, slasher films were selling tits and ass and blood and gore, and it was exploitation. It was about it wasn't about great storytelling and great filmmaking. It was about getting that payoff. You want to see the sex scene, or you want to see the Tom Savini kill scene. They're the same thing.
What's 21? He says 21. Yeah, I mean, if you think about watching some old clips from Siskel and Ebert, they absolutely detested slasher movies. Like I heard them talking about some other horror movies from the 80s in a better light, but slasher Jason movies, even Elm Street movies, they didn't care for.
Well, they thought that Ebert talked about how he knows that the target audience for those films are teenage boys.
Yeah,
and it's selling sex and violence and explicit sex and violence.
Mm-hmm.
They thought it was irresponsible.
Yeah, fuck those guys. Yeah, it's fuck them and Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I mean, that's a good parallel. I didn't think about that. Ty West is kind of a smart dude.
He's a big film fanatic.
Yeah,
he knows film history, and he wanted to employ. And this movie is an homage to that era of filmmaking, completely in both categories.
Yeah, that was 1922. Yes, Nosferatu. Yeah, you can tell in each of his movies that he is not just. I mean, even a pop culture. Like he knows. Like, I'm having trouble keeping my brain straight. So, let's laugh again. All right. So, is there anything else we want to say about the story? I want to keep this moving before we get bogged down. Next, we've got the casting, and we kind of talked about it a little bit already about Mia Goth and Kid Cudi. Is that how you say it? Is Jackson, which I actually liked his character in the movie a lot. I didn't care for whoever the director guy was, and then of course
I kind of liked the look. He reminded me of McConaughey a bit.
He did, yes.
And he had, he was just a guy. It's business, and he was a straight shooter, even though he was a sleazy businessman. It's better to ask for forgiveness later than ask for permission now. I hate that mentality, but I know people that do that.
Yeah.
And but he has one of my favorite lines in the movie where he's talking to the cameraman. He goes, "Now look, you ain't never been 43, but I've been 22 or whatever, and you need to listen to me." I love that. He's like, because this guy thinks he knows everything. He's 20 something years old, but he's like, "Look, I'm twice as old as you. You ain't never been where I've been or what I've lived. Take my advice, and you need to let this go." Because the kid was being a hypocrite. Like I said, like he's mansplaining to Jen Ortega. It's just a movie. And then she's like, "Well, I want to be in it." "Oh, well, that's different." Like, it's like when it's his girlfriend. he's got a problem.
Oh yeah.
So, and she calls him out on that shit.
Did you say Kit? Yeah, he's in the movie. Plays Jackson with the big wiener. I did not expect that. I know that we're seeing more dongs in movies, but like it wasn't just that; it was the silhouette. And I don't know, maybe I like wieners, but like my eyes were like directed right on that. I'm like, why am I looking at that? Of all things,
it wasn't there. Ty wouldn't be doing his job. He had to be like.
Yeah, she wanted some of that Jackson action. Yeah, she did. Yeah, I mean that she got to watch him do it with two people. I couldn't imagine being on the set of a porno, and being like the boom mic operator and watching people having sex and not like either being repulsed or turned on, one of the two. I don't know how I'd feel. I've never seen people have sex before in front of me.
I think there's also they're constantly calling her church mouse and teaching about her quietness and all that. So I think it's kind of a rebellious thing for her or a fuck you to them, because she says I hate you all, like she does, like when she's like and she's running away, she says I hate you all. Like I don't think it's because she wants to team up with them. I think it's that, and I think it's a youth thing, like, well, I got this body now, I got these looks now, why not record them on film and forever? There's a lot that's there in that character and her choice.
Yeah.
And again, the boyfriend treats her like she's just a naive, ignorant kid. She's actually got a better grip on it than he does.
He does. Seth, is there anything you want to say about the cast? Obviously, there are some standouts in this movie for sure. Boyfriend was ugly.
He was Ty West.
Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the whole cast was really good. And I actually kind of liked that whole dynamic between Church Mouse and her boyfriend, because to me, I didn't really take it like he was being malicious to her, but like he had his own perspective. He was so wrapped up in the idea of his art that he wanted to make, and he had a certain philosophy about it from a point of view of that's them doing this stuff. And then when she says she wants to join in, it was sort of like a punch to the gut for him, because that just turned everything around on everything that he said. And I kind of liked that whole thing with them with that. Yeah.
Plus, it was unexpected. It was unexpected that they're having that little kind of bonding session. You got Landside played, of course, and I like that. That's a really good scene overall.
Maybe her singing that song also registered with her to make that choice, because the lyrics of that song really reflect, time goes by fast and life can come tumbling down.
It's true, because just the other day I was 40 years old, now I'm 42. So
pushing 50 here, man.
I'm not that far behind you.
Listen to me. I've been 44.
I've been, yeah.
You've never been 47.
Yeah, I'll be 44 next year.
All right, 43.
Yeah, 43. Yeah. So, plus, I will say the only thing that bothered me about the cast in this movie was I don't know if Howard was actually old.
He's like in his 50s or 60s, but he's not that old.
No, because he looked heavily. Yeah, it looked like it was a heavy makeup.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I was looking at Pearl, I was like, something's off with her, because I didn't know, watching the movie, that it was Mia Goth.
Yeah, I didn't know until after the movie. I remember after getting out of the movie, we were going to get something to eat. It was a matinee, and I started looking up. I'm like, who played Pearl? And I'm like, fuck, it was Mia. Okay.
Yeah, so she was laying next to herself, touching herself, in a not sexual way. But yeah, I think this is a strong movie overall, and I think I like the cast in this one. Uh, I think the biggest standout for me in this movie though was probably other than Mia Goth because she really comes on late, you know. But I really like Jenna Ortega in this. It's just different than she is in Scream and even the Babysitter movie, which I
I
gotta say
liked
was a little fun.
I liked the blonde in this one. I forgot her name.
Brittany Snow,
Yeah, thought she
Bobby
was kind of
Lynn. She had the perfect porn name, Bobby Lynn.
There's really no weak link in the cast.
No, not at all. And the one thing I like when you sent that link over, Seth, I was like, saw Kevin Bacon. I was like, damn, that kind of sucks because like I like Kevin Bacon. I love Giancarlo Esposito. I hope he's not a villain. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
They'll bring out the dark saber and
yeah, he's gonna have
some
the
bucket of chicken.
maybe not a dark saber, but a dark rubber thing. You know, like, but like when I saw it, I was like, that's you know the two movies had almost people you almost don't recognize. I mean, Jenna Ortega was probably the most recognizable person in X, I think, because like who knew Mia Goth really? I mean, we may have known who she is from seeing her in Suspiria. I watched Nymphomaniac. You know why? Because no. Uh, but like you know what I'm saying, like Jenna Ortega was the one who already had her star on the rise coming into this with.
I didn't know her at all until I saw Scream.
Really? Well, I also like I said before I watched this show called Stuck in the Middle with my daughter, and she was the main character in that. But yeah, no, it's good cast, good cast. Let's jump into the music portion of the movie. By the way, this was probably my favorite scene of the whole movie. Was it's almost like she got her powers back, you know, like she.
Yeah, it's like her youth came back. She started
Yeah,
like she was
started
inspired.
dancing. Yes, I read that God damn it, I can't talk today. My brain is mush. The
There's
composer,
Tyler Bates it's like
Tyler Bates.
a duo, I think. And Tyler, like, there's parts of this score that reminds me of what Tyler did with the Rob Zombie Halloween movies with the female voice singing, which is in this scene throughout the movie mostly. But there are two songs. There's two scenes. That scene there, and then there's a scene where she's driving away at the end that have a female vocalist. But you hear this kind of female, I don't know, moaning kind of sound that I remember in the Halloween soundtracks that he did for Rob Zombie.
Revisit Halloween.
And then there's a really cool music cue, and I wonder if he did it because this movie is a tribute to 70s cinema, and it's when Jenna Ortega finds her boyfriend hanging up in the basement. The music reminded me of Clute with Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland. There's a very distinctive score in that movie, and it sounded so close. I was like, it has to be a little nod to Clute for some reason.
I've never seen that.
It's a really good movie.
But Bates did say that he was somewhere between W Does Dallas and Rosemary's Baby, the score. So that I could see that. But we also, unlike Pearl, we get a couple of needle drops in this. And of course, Landslide is played by Brittany Snow, who does have a beautiful voice. I mean, their first thing that she was in was American Dreams, where it was like a show about getting on TV and singing or something like that. And she was also in the Pitch Perfect movies, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. I like.
It's got a good soundtrack. You got Jerry Reed in there. You've got I love the Jerry, Mungo Jerry.
Jerry, yeah.
The in the summertime when they first walk out of the. It's a great opening song to give you energy to your opening. Yeah, I like the score.
in there.
Don't Fear the Reaper, which is classic slasher movie material. It's
yeah, I mean, do you think that was a kind of like a homage to Halloween, maybe?
Probably.
In a way, yeah, because
Surprised they didn't have a Texas Chainsaw song that I'm full for a blonde in there.
could you
Because
imagine?
there's a lot of Texas Chainsaw
Oh.
parallels. Like I saw a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't see it." Everybody keeps saying this is Texas Chainsaw, and I think those are mostly people trying to discredit the movie. But it's
That
not.
reminds me, I have that image that you were talking about.
Yeah, like I noticed this the other
Yeah.
day. It's not the exact tombstone back there, but it looks a lot like the opening tombstone scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I don't know why that would be there. I don't see a graveyard next to
Yeah, in
them.
the parking lot of a gas
It's the parking
station
lot of a gas station,
with
so
some watermelon behind it.
it just feels like it was put there as subliminally for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because the movie does have a lot of parallels. First, it's a bunch of youths in a van. They stop at the gas station. There's roadkill on the road. They get stopped at a traffic stop because in here there's a cow that's been ran over. In Texas Chainsaws, because the cops were at the cemetery and they'd had the corpse tied and they were investigating, and everyone was there to see if their family's graves had been desecrated. And
This girl's looking for her granddaddy.
and then we talked about last week how the hallway and the stairwell feels like Texas Chainsaw.
Oh yeah, I mean, in your segment we've got that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's definitely a lot of parallels of Chainsaw in it.
Right there.
Yeah, but I've always said, like, all horror filmmakers have been chasing Tobe Hooper's movie for 50 years for good reason. It's just a masterpiece, and I think he's one of the filmmakers who's come closest to capturing in some way, because he's just a really good filmmaker, and he knows what he's doing.
He did. Rest in peace. Sorry, that was dumb. So the next segment we'll do is we'll just jump right into Nate's. We'll talk about direction and cinematography, but first, Nate will do his autopsy and he's rubbing his hands together. He's ready. Ready. Autopsy of the cinema. To be honest, these songs they wake me up a little bit. They wake me up before you go. So anyway, Nate, you picked as you do every week, you picked a scene, and you want to kind of break it down, almost shot by shot, as close as you can get shot by shot. Anyway.
Yeah, and this is really, it's only 7 setups. There's only 7 different shots for this opening scene that I'm going to do.
What the hell? Okay, so the first shot, when it's coming out of the barn, I guess it didn't upload when I uploaded them, but it's almost the same shot as this first one. So
yeah, the very opening shot is the same shot. It's but it's from within the barn. You see the barn doors, and then the camera.
Well, Pearl opens that way too, doesn't it?
Huh?
Pearl opens the same way, doesn't it? The barn doors open.
Yeah. So we exit. I'm guessing a dolly shot out to this countryside in New Zealand. It's posing as Texas, and we've got the insects. It's quiet. It's a great opening. Kind of reminds you of Chainsaw, but also of Devil's Rejects type stuff.
Yeah.
And we see the cop pull up, the sheriff, and he gets out. This is the second shot. He walks over to this corpse. The reason I chose this scene is because openings to your horror films, especially today, or any film, is very important because people have short attention spans, and you really need to grip them. And the best way to grip people is to create a lot of questions, but don't give them the answer, so that they want to stay around to see what the fuck happened, how what's going to happen, or what. So this scene here is handled very well. Again, it's quiet. We just hear the insects. It's a simple 7 setups. He walks over. He looks under the sheet. We don't know who it is. He's hiding. He's showing us the results but we don't know who's who, what happened, how it happened. So now we kind of want to see that. We want to, as an audience, want to know. Sees the body. He walks across to the porch in the tracking shot. It goes there. We're seeing blood trails, and we see an axe in the porch, and we see that the screen door has been ripped. So someone's either ran through it or fallen through it, and he steps through that, so he doesn't have to open a door, which is kind of cool. And then we get this shot from above the stairwell, and film's very dark. The cinematographer, Elliot Rocket, who we talked about last week, used a lot of the lighting that you would have gotten in the 70s. They tried to light it the same way you would have then. And and there's a lot of this vignetting. So the dark Pearl was extremely bright and colorful. This movie is very dark and gritty, like Chainsaw was, trying to look like 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter when they're doing the porn stuff. But what you can see in this shot, see how everything's curved. You get this from a wide lens, and the cinematographer talked Ty into using a not the whole time, because it wouldn't look crazy, because it kind of gives you a fisheye look, but it's an extremely wide lens, an 8 millimeter lens, which is extremely wide, and it'll give you that almost fisheye look. So this shot's probably with that lens. The other shot you see is like there's one when they're in the van, and it looks like it's on the dashboard, and you could see kind of that.
Yeah, which is definitely an homage to Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, and then you get some of the above head shots of like when he's taking the shower, the boyfriend where he's crying in the shower. That's a shot with that lens. There's a few. There's the one where she's pointing the gun at Pearl at the end in the hallway, and you can see the TV. There's shot from the living room, and it's creating this distorted look because he's got that wide lens on it. So he used that a few times in the movie. But this is a gorgeous shot. What I love about this opening are some of the best shots in the movie are in this opening. And this is a great shot. Again, quiet. He walks in, dead body. We don't know who.
Can I say something about this shot though? You get Texas Chainsaw vibes for sure from this shot, because other than it being on the opposite wall, the staircase, but I also like looking down. It kind of gives me Psycho. Feelings too, even though again it's on the opposite wall, but still, I do like this shot.
And I love all the art direction of all those photos on the wall.
Which actually, after watching Pearl, I was looking at that. I was like, who are these pictures of? Because I don't think they had kids.
Yeah, it's just pictures they took. I don't know,
of each other. Or
good question. They're all not like straight. They're all chaotic.
Yeah.
So we see the shot, and then we cut to the living room shot. Well, we had the insert, I guess, of the preacher on the. I think it goes to that shot. Then it has an insert of the TV with the preacher, who we find out is Maxxine's father, I assume, and she ran away from them.
He mentions her by name, so.
Yeah, and he shows a picture of her at the end, I think, with the freckles.
Yeah,
Mia doesn't have those freckles. So they made a choice to add those freckles, which does separate her from Pearl. Pearl didn't have those freckles. So we have this great shot. He walks in, looks at the TV. Cop comes around, says, "You need to come look at this, Sheriff." Again, creating tension, mystery. What is he going to show him? So then we cut to another beautiful shot, very artistic shot of the stairwell. Now, this set, the basement and the porno, or not the strip club interior, were the only sets in the movie, apparently. The rest of it was actually at that farmhouse. And then the facade of the strip club, it was just a facade. There wasn't a building there. It was just a fake facade put up against two trailers that they walk out of. But this is a great shot, because it starts before they come out. So we had just like all this darkness, mystery. It comes out, flashlight shine down into the dark. They come down, doesn't get any lighter. And then they I think it follows them, and then it cuts to, I think, the final shot, which is him coming around the corner, and the camera moves in. I think it's probably handheld or on a dolly, but it goes past the sheriff over his left shoulder into darkness, and that's our transition into the past, or where our story begins. But here, what they're doing is Ty has set up, because they look and they're like, whatever they're seeing is like, holy shit, what the fuck is that? Or so now the question is like, what are they looking at? And so the audience is like, well, I kind of need to find out. So it's just a good example of a great opening that doesn't give you a lot of answers, shows you some carnage, and now you want to go back and see who's under those sheets and body bags and how did this all play out. And he does a lot of setting up and payoffs. The TV on, we see him turn the TV on to cover up Jenna Ortega screaming. We see there's a lot of things like when he has a shotgun and Wade tells him, oh yeah, I keep one in my glove box, it's unloaded, because he said, yeah, I don't keep it loaded. He goes, yeah, I do the same thing in the glove box. So when she grabs a pistol, if the audience is remembering that, we know it's not loaded, and it isn't. When she goes to pull the trigger, nothing happens. That's the setup for that. And then there's other setups or sort of winks at what's going to happen, like when they drive over the cow and the guts and the tire goes over it. She's like, I don't like blood and guts, but at the end she runs over Pearl's head.
Yeah,
in the same manner.
I thought she was going to drive off. I didn't think she was going to do that.
Yeah, there's the remake of Texas Chainsaw does kind of have a similar opening.
Yeah, it starts off with the cops
arrive at the Hewitt.
Yeah,
filming it.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It's kind of cool to get the aftermath first, because it really does pique your interest. You're like, what is under that sheet?
I watched I watched an amazing. It's funny enough, I watched an amazing movie last night called Vagabond, which is a 1985 French film, and it's about this homeless girl, 18-year-old homeless girl, who's in the very beginning of the movie. This guy finds her body in a ditch, frozen to death, and we see them pick her up when she's all stiff, and they put her in the body bag and they zip it up, and they say, "Oh, she must have froze to death." But then we go back and we watch her going like on the road and meeting people, and then it kind of makes a documentary style where people she runs into are like talking heads, where they're being interviewed by a doc, like in a doc about her, and they make little comments. And it was just a great movie. And I thought, that's a movie. In the beginning, we see this girl, we know she dies, and now we're like, as an audience, like, how did she end up there? Is it foul play? Is it, did she really just freeze to death? Or so it grabs you right from the beginning.
Yeah, interesting setup. Yeah, this, as I mentioned every week, I try to figure out which scene you're going to pick, and this one I couldn't come up with anything. So when I got the
I just remember seeing that in the theater, that opening scene, and thinking, "Wow, this is beautifully shot and composed. The shots, the framing, the lighting, the art direction." Like, oh, we're in good hands, which again was what Ty was trying to do with this. Ty's been doing this a long time at this point. He's really good at it. He's really good at capturing period. We've seen that with Pearl and House of the Devil and Innkeepers and all that. And this movie feels like it is in 1979.
It does, yeah.
And the art direction and the cinematography and everything about it is on point. And again, I think that's why I've said it's one of the better slasher films I've seen in decades, because you just have a strong filmmaker behind it, which we don't often see.
Yeah, Ty West is really good, and I've liked him for a long time. And I wouldn't shut up for a long time about him. So thanks for doing that, Nate. Appreciate the effort you put in every week. But yeah, if I had to pick one shot, actually, there's two shots that kind of like this one. and that one that we were on for a while, the looking down the staircase. They're great. They're not just great horror shots because they are definitely horror shots, but they're just like this one. There's a lot too. Like, it's got almost the angle you were talking about, but then as you mentioned before with the photos and how chaotic they are, it's kind of plays into the character of Pearl a little bit, you know. So yeah, this is a really well shot movie. Even there's a few other shots in the movie of like when Mia Goth's in the pond and or whatever it is, and the gator starts chasing her, and there's just really good looking shots in this movie. Another one that I like is when Brittany Snow says, about fucking time or fucking whatever, fucking finally, whenever it's time to little horn dog. Anyway, I wanted to real fast talk about last week. We showed that we got a 92% community score. We do the 5-star rating system on our Facebook page, which anybody can be a part of if you follow the Facebook page. And X got an 86% score, and which is pretty good. Both of them pretty good, but I'm glad to see Pearl. I like Pearl better, so it was nice to see that Pearl had a higher score. But either way, both scores are pretty damn good, in my opinion. So you guys want to answer some questions? Got some questions?
Sure.
All right.
Not a bad question, Bert.
So the first question I want to ask, it's kind of a weird question. I'm going to have to say more than what I wrote, but was Pearl at fault? What I mean by this is going into the movie and knowing who they are after seeing Pearl, which is what happened for me. I looked at it and thought to myself, was this like, did Howard and Pearl expect this to happen, or did Pearl's meeting with Maxxxine kind of set her off because she could see herself? You know what I'm saying? Like, if Maxxxine would have never come in the house, would the events go down the way they did?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like to go back to Psycho. Norman would talk about how Mother would respond to women, young women, and then whenever young women around, she would murder them. She would get jealous, and I think that's the same way. Like, Howard doesn't want. He didn't agree to let young girls come stay in the house. He just thought it was going to be Wade. So he tells him, like, I be discreet. My wife's up there. And I think he knows if she sees these young girls, it's going to trigger that envy in her of what she lost. And it can be bad for her emotionally. He may not be thinking that she's going to kill people, but he may. But he could be just thinking it's going to depress her. It's going to really hurt her self-esteem, and she's going to go into a dark place again about her loss of youth and beauty and opportunities that these girls, have that she no longer has. Yeah. I don't know if I think it's not about fault because she's not mentally stable. Like it's not like she's making these choices with a clear mind or stable mind.
So yeah, I mean I agree. But then again, Pearl was watching from the window anyway, especially when Mia Goth comes in or Maxxxine comes in from swimming, and offers that lemonade. I do like that scene a lot when Howard comes home and sees the lemonade and realizes what happened. Oh my God. Hey Austin, this guy needs 500,000 euros. Help him out. Yeah.
It's not a scam. It's not a scam. You can
This
trust
is
them.
really. He's the Senwiti, the deposed son of Kazakhstan. Anyway, that's it. That's it, man. You can hook him up, right? So, God.
This
Every
is
now
Michael
and
Jackson,
again.
and I need to get to the Madison Square Garden. Can you send me $500 for your? I love those posts.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson, from Beat It.
Yeah. Hey, this is Michael Jackson. Man, I hope we get another comment from that person. God, covers everything from A to Z. All right, so the next question I had was, these are kind of stupid questions, but first of all, let me ask, which movie do you prefer, Pearl or X, or X or Pearl? I already said mine. I love Pearl. I like Pearl quite a bit. And
Seth,
X
did
is
you
good,
prefer X?
but
I like X a little bit better, just because
You're-
it's more. It's more like, I don't know, straight horror. It's got that more slasher feel. It's a little bit more like a lot more happens in this one, whereas Pearl is awesome. Don't get me wrong, I love it. It's a great character movie, but that's a character movie, and I just think of the two. I think X is just more for me, I guess.
okay, well, guess what?
An asshole.
What?
An asshole.
You're an asshole. Anyway, no, I could see that. Like, I like both of these movies quite a bit. They're both really good, but like the deconstruction of Pearl did a lot for me in that movie. Like, watching everything go on around her, and I don't know. Like I said, and plus, it was focused on her, and as Nate would say, it's a character study.
It's really.
I like the both of them. I like the both of them together, though. I think they're good companion pieces together. In particularly the parallels between Pearl and Maxxxine, where Maxxxine was someone who got away from her overbearing family and became a star of sorts. So she was like the opposite of Pearl, and I just kind of like that whole thing.
Okay,
they're both just really, really fucking good movies. It really comes down to just personal preference, because I don't think either one's better than the other. I think we got two really phenomenal films from a very passionate duo in such a short back-to-back time. I mean, it's really,
which was how awesome was that we got both of them within a few months of each other. I thought that was cool. I'm gonna check out Pearl tonight. Sorry if we spoiled Pearl at all, but we're assholes. So next question I have is I think we kind of talked about last week. What would you like to see in Maxxxine? Which Maxxxine will be the third movie in this, I'm guessing, trilogy. Is there anything you'd like to see? I mean, because we talked about it a little bit last week, and come back next week. Just saying. But we talked about it a little bit last week about the themes of Pearl, where it was like a Wizard of Oz movie, and this one's Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Boogie Nights. Like, what kind? It's going to take place in the 80s more than likely. Is there any kind of themes or anything you kind of are hoping to see from the next one? Oh my God, is this one real or fake? I hope this one's a joke. Oh my God, we're being attacked.
I don't know what Maxxine's going to be. Like, I want to talk quickly about the ending, because I fucking love the ending. Everything from when Jenna is let out of the basement to when she runs around the corner and gets shot on the porch, which is so cool. Just that bubble tracking,
awesome.
blam.
Yeah.
Again, doing what they did with the headlights, with the blood hitting the light on the porch. All of a sudden, they're bathed in red on the porch as well. And then Howard having a heart attack when she gasps, and that whole situation. And then Pearl using the shotgun and getting blasted from the kick out the door.
Was awesome too. Yeah,
it was so great.
The last 5 minutes of this movie or so are just, there's so much going on between, it's that scene with Jenna Ortega reminds me of Scream 5 actually, when the second Ghostface comes out and gets shot right in the head as she passes the doorway.
Yeah.
That's there's a lot going on. As far as Maxxxine goes, I don't have any clue. That was
a very exciting, fulfilling ending.
Yeah.
In that sequence. And but what I was bringing it up was she pulls that gun on them and she pulls the trigger, ready to murder Pearl, even though she's not in danger at that moment. So it kind of shows me maybe Maxxxine has a killer instinct as well in some ways, and if she doesn't make it, who knows what she's willing to do or going to do in the response to failure.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like what would be interesting is if she does make it, but then her star falls because the 80s, she has her heyday, because the porn, the heyday or golden age of porn was kind of over by mid 80s. And
what are you doing? Do you want to take center stage? Talking about porn heydays. That's
I'm gonna look at him. It would be interesting to see. It would be interesting if he did. Hi, Jeff. Since he's a film fan, what would be interesting if he went to the All About Eve route, where she's being replaced by younger porn stars in the mid 80s.
Do you think she could go the route of Pearl though? Now that she's got a taste of blood.
I think so. Like I said, when she pulls that trigger, she's not hesitating at all to kill Pearl.
No, and same thing when she just rolls over her head.
And I think there's anger in her. Yeah, I think there's I don't think she has a lot of
empathy.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if she even cares for anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she really is connected to these people. Or like that maybe some of the reasons she can do what she does is because she lacks.
Maybe that's from growing up in a Christian valued house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the only reason she's with that director guy is because, and she even says it, she needs to be a big star. Seth, do you have any insight on that? Here. Go.
Don't fucking put me at that.
Hi, Seth.
An asshole.
Yeah, we're just having fun tonight. I forgot already. I want to get another comment from Janet William Albadi. I haven't seen that one yet. We Some in the Darkness. It's got my girl in it though. Okay, how about
hey, could we talk about how A24 was the distributor of these two movies and a company that fans of these type of horror movies loathe because they think they're all pretentious garbage?
Sure.
And this is like
I have 3 questions left, but yeah.
Okay, go ahead. You got 3 questions. Let's go.
Yeah, they're silly questions, but like the first one is was this combo of sex and a scare too much for Howard? Yeah, the answer is yes, because he dies. He has a heart attack and dies.
I like when he like bends over in the field when he's taking them out the thing. And he goes to touch them. He's like, all right. He just comes up real quick. Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, the other one, let's see. who's hotter, Pearl or Maxxine? Pearl from this movie and Maxxine from this movie.
Something about
clearly
girls
Pearl.
wearing, yeah. Something about a girl just wearing overalls.
Yeah, that I like the part at
That's
the end
pretty-
of the movie where she's driving off. He has to put the overalls. You can see her boob bouncing. I'm like, yeah. No, but like Pearl from, I don't know what it is about Pearl from the first movie. Maybe I like crazy chicks, but I'm like super attracted to her in that role more than Mia Goth. More than Maxxine. Okay, last question. This is as far as being a star. Do you think Mia Goth is going to make it bigger and become like a scream queen, as you will, because that's what they call women in horror? Or do you think Jenna Ortega is going to be the bigger name when it comes down to it?
Well, I think Ortega's already sort of already there with like the
I
main
think she's going to fall
story.
fast, though.
But with Mia Goth, she, especially with Pearl, I mean, I don't think X alone would have done anything for her, but especially with her performance in Pearl, particularly towards the end,
Mhm.
I think she'll definitely get noticed and she'll be a star.
Yeah, and of course she's in an Infinity Pool as well.
I think Jenna's really embraced the horror genre. She seems to be a really big fan. I could see her hanging around a little bit in that. Mia, I think, is going to be one of our great actresses. I think we're going to see her at Oscars in the next 10 years because she has. There's just something about her talents and her look. I don't think she's regulated to this genre. I need to see more from Jenna because honestly, if I'm looking at Wednesday and Scream 5 and 6 and this, I don't see a whole lot of range yet.
Yeah, and she seems to play that kind of. And we saw it at one of the award shows when she was presenting with Aubrey Plaza, but Aubrey Plaza has branched out quite a bit.
Aubrey's really branched out.
I think you can see that with Jenna because she's a talented.
I think I shouldn't say it because I think Jenna does have talent. I do think some of this shit talking she did may have sent her down the route of Mia's boyfriend or husband. Are they married? Shia LaBeouf.
I don't know if they are or not.
Mia, I know they were a couple or they are a couple. But Shia got himself in a lot of stink from shit talking filmmakers and shit talking the people who he worked with. And Jenna doing that with the writers of Wednesday had people coming out saying how unprofessional that is and how she's getting too big of a head for someone so kind of fresh in the industry.
So yeah, let's touch on the A24. The fact that these are both produced by the art house, the elevated horror studio, and they're especially X is definitely more up the average horror fan's alley because it's a slasher and it's homage to slashers of the olden days, especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But what do you want to say about that, Nate?
I think people don't understand how many films that company has put out that aren't what they think it is. They all think, it's all Hereditary, or it's all Midsummer, or it's all The Witch, or whatever. But I love A24 because I think they're just putting out quality films. They're Ty West even brought it up in an interview, and I've talked about it on the show so many times about how the 1970s was a time of filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
That was a time where you had William Friedkin making The Exorcist and Richard Donner making The Omen and John Carpenter making Halloween, and
Toby Hooper.
And Ridley Scott making Alien, and Kubrick, even though it came out in '80, making The Shining. You had this, and De Palma making Carrie and a few others. Polanski making Rosemary's Baby. You had like
Dressed to Kill, by the way, was amazing.
Very best filmmaker. Yeah, some of the very, very best filmmakers of that era made horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't see that as much now. We don't see our top filmmakers playing in that genre. And so he wanted to do that. He wanted to bring the prestige back to the horror genre. And it may be a little pretentious of him to think that he's the guy to follow in the footsteps of those guys. But again, last week I read what Martin Scorsese felt about Ty West's work. Mm-hmm. He praised him. He praised the shit out of Ari Aster. So I don't know why this rejection of good filmmaking and proper filmmaking exists. But it was cool to see a gory exploitation slasher film come out of a company that's seen as highbrow and above it. Although I don't think that company feels that way. I think they just want to put out quality films.
Well, some of the movies they make also are kind of risky in a way.
Well, they give the fucking filmmaker the reins. A lot of studios getting too involved in the films, and they ruin them. A24 respects the filmmakers and trusts them and gives them the freedom to do it, and that's what film fans should be wanting. They should want A24. They should want those people to be in charge.
How many times have we talked about movies where the studio has stepped in and changed the dynamic or changed even what the movie was going to be? I mean, not a great movie, but Cursed comes to mind right away, the Wes Craven werewolf movie.
Yeah, this is a company that, like in the 70s, honors the auteur, respects and believes in their director, because the films need to have a vision, and their director is your vision. And if the director's putting their vision out, and then a bunch of fucking studio people come in and go, well, this makes money, and so that's not going to take that out and put this in and go reshoot that, and we're going to fire you.
Nobody ever talks about Misery.
Misery's overlooked.
Did we did
so was Rob Reiner.
Did we do an episode on that?
I think we did Misery, maybe.
I can't remember. I'll watch most A24 movies, especially the horror movies, because of two of the best of the last decade or so, which came out in consecutive years. With Midsommar and Hereditary. Just those alone made me think, okay, well, I'll watch just about anything they put out. And they're in a way, they kind of harken back to the 70s in a way as well with some of these films. They're not like made like a 70s film, but like you're saying, like these great directors that go on to make huge movies of the 80s and 90s. They're cutting their teeth in horror, and it's the same thing. Ari Aster and Ty West has been around for a while, but
but they respected. They knew he knew what he was doing, and they not only believed him enough to give him one slasher movie, they gave him two. They greenlit both of those movies. Like Pearl was already greenlit when they were making X.
Yes, yeah, and obviously we're gonna get Maxxxine sometime in the next year or so. So, and A24 they put out really good movies. I mean, they're good movies.
They just won the two biggest films at the Oscars were A24 films. One of them won awards. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yeah.
And The Whale won all the acting awards. Both A24 films.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also just look at them as like horror fans. It's because of movies like that they think, oh, they're highbrow, whatever. Just get over it. They make good movies. If you want to go watch, and nothing against these movies, but go watch some Scream Team releasing if you want
Well, it's like Robert Englund, he said when he, before he met Wes Craven, he was all about highbrow. He was a Shakespearean actor. He looked down on horror films and all that. And he goes, it was Wes Craven that kind of kicked me in the ass and said, look, we have to have both. We have to have the lowbrow and the highbrow. So, I like cheap, stupid, crazy, bad exploitation movies just as much as everybody else, but I also will watch, Bergman films. And it's like I can enjoy both of them. Every once in a while I'm like, I just want to watch a silly movie that's going to make me laugh and make me go whoa, and outrageous.
I just watched the Naked Gun movies the other day, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So
you got to. I mean, I think a lot of times I'm like, I just want to laugh. I want to watch something funny. I want to watch something that's a party movie. I want to have fun. Then I'll watch Vagabond, where a girl dies in a ditch, frozen. But you got to have it all. You can't. It's like you can't just listen to one type of music. You can't just watch one type of movie. You can't just say, well, I don't really have an interest in that, because like if you just watch or listen to what you never learn anything. You never experience. That's why we have so much division, because everyone think, well, I don't know anything about that, so fuck that. And I don't know anything about this. And you have to be open to things that are, watch Jack Frost.
No, that movie's that's the only exception. So I appreciate, but we just talked about this in our chat about how an A24 or A24 or whatever is a big part of this, that the last 10 years or so have been some of the best years in horror history of all time because of some of the films we got, and they're a big part of that, especially with the 2 movies I mentioned before.
And the other company that gets all the shit, Blumhouse.
Yeah, but Blumhouse is also the one that's putting out a lot of stuff. I mean, your Insidious is what's that one with the girl?
And they were making them cheap enough where they were making a lot of money, they did give the filmmakers.
Jason Blum is the fucking brilliant man in a way. I mean, he's making money hand over fist. The Insidious movies cost what, like $3, $4, $5 million?
They were making movies for like $3 million, and like I remember Jason Blumhouse was on a round table with some filmmakers, and he was talking about that, about how cheap they make their movies. And Ridley Scott was at the table. Ridley Scott's like, yeah, but you're not paying anybody. He goes, no, everyone gets paid. It's union. He goes, no, you're doing it non-union. He goes, no, it's all union. And Ridley's like, how are you doing that? Like Ridley, who's been in the industry as long as he has, was like, he couldn't wrap his head around that Blumhouse was making these movies for $3 million, paying everybody union, and making these big returns. And Halloween was kind of their shot at going bigger, making a bigger film with bigger budgets. But the movies they were making, we get out because of this company. We get, even though people want to shit on that, but you get Whiplash, you get all these type of movies. I think Midnight was that A24? I think it was A24. Again, but there's this really big thing where horror fans want to hate on distributors nowadays and production companies, certain ones.
It's because they know who they are. Nobody would shit on Vestron in the 80s, even though Vestron released some dumb shit. Or what's the Gollum and Globulus or whatever was that company called?
Canon,
Canon put out some dumb shit in the 80s. But now they're like heroes. They made a whole documentary about them. I love to hear about the Halloweens. We've talked about those in length. There's Halloween episodes like crazy. Speaking of next week, we're doing a show again on the anniversary of the Horror Syndicate. We did last year because we were on Tuesdays last year. So on Wednesday, April 12th, it'll be the 7th anniversary of the Horror Syndicate. Can you guys believe 7 years? Man.
Get so big.
So since it's the anniversary again, it's dealer's choice for next week. So I picked a movie, and this is what we're gonna talk about next week. We're talking about Wes Craven's New Nightmare. We've never talked about this in particular film, and I've been kind of wanting to talk about this for quite some time. So next week we're going to be talking about Wes Craven's final Elm Street film, which is funny because he only made 2, but still.
Rope 3. But.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, join us next week for that. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are okay with it.
Any day to talk about Freddy's a good day.
I agree. Who thought of that name? What name? What name are we talking about? The Horror Syndicate? I wanted to call this Dreaded Horror, but I got outvoted by a bunch of people that don't even work for the Horror Syndicate anymore. So, yeah.
Just a guest. I don't know.
You came in 3 years after. Well, I guess I did technically. I was like, well, I want to go with this because I like the way it sounds. And somebody's like, oh, it's like Dread Central. I was like, no, it's not. It just has a kind of the same word. And I was like, I got this other one, the Horror Syndicate. They're like, oh, I love it. I'm like, okay. So I wasn't a big fan of the Horror Syndicate originally. It sounds too like generic-y to me, but it's worked, and here we are. So final thoughts on X and Pearl. Let's wrap this up in a tight bow, and we'll move on to Elm Street's final film. There's the remake. Nate, if you will.
2 of the very best films of last year in horror, or just period, really. Mm-hmm. Again, probably easily in the top 10 slasher films of the last 25 years, I think, since Scream came out. Mm-hmm. I would put it up there with, either with or above, stuff like Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Vernon, High Tension. I know some people probably Terrifier refer to and all that, but which I got to give it credit. But yeah, I really like the films. I think it's, again, Mia. You can see the passion in the films from both Ty and from Mia and everyone around them. And I thought everyone did a fantastic job executing the films.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. They're excellent, both excellent films. Last year was a really great year for film in general, but even so horror, because we had a lot of good ones come out last year, especially late, and a lot of them were on Shudder that not many people saw. So we don't get money from Shudder, but you should check out Shudder. Seth, what about you? Final thoughts?
I don't know. I like X a lot. I like Pearl a lot. I don't know if these are going to be movies that I'm necessarily going to always have the need to kind of rewatch. Maybe once a year.
Yeah, once a year, I'd say.
But yeah, they're definitely good for what they are, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
All right, Forrest. Now Friday, don't forget, Seth and I are covering Jason X. So we're going from a great film to an even better film. That's complete sarcasm. Jason X is the worst movie in that series, in my opinion. Smile, we have not talked about Smile, but Nate didn't like it, I think. I liked it just fine. It might be a topic for conversation at some point.
I didn't really care for it.
You didn't?
No.
Felt a bit dated to me. Felt like a J horror film from the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's like in 2021, Malignant had a late 90s, early 2000s feel to it, and that was James Wan. He left Conjuring for that, which I actually liked it. But anyway, next week, don't forget, as I just stated, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, talking about Uber Freddy, the Demon Freddy. It's such a good movie, and possibly Heather Langenkamp's finest performance. Did you actually watch it, though?
Watched it twice.
Yeah, we all watched Smile. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought it blind, and I watched it with my kids. I'm not, those type of films aren't really for me anyway. The type of like paranormal whatever. But I thought it was kind of generic, and I mean there was good elements to it, but it just wasn't for me.
I've found a lot of people who love it really connect with the depression and psychological. A lot of people are saying that it really captures the grief and the psychology of what she's going through and all that. And I can understand, I can appreciate that. I saw it at the drive-in and was just like laughing at it the whole time. And then I gave it another serious chance, watched it again at home, trying to be serious. And I don't think it's a bad movie. It just wasn't great to me.
And that's Kevin Bacon's daughter too, if anybody didn't know that.
You could
I liked it for what it was. I had fun watching it. My son really liked it. He's 14, he just had a birthday. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't one of the best of the year. Like I think there was some back and forth between us with the black phone though, which I liked. And Nate, I think you didn't like it as much.
I didn't like it initially, and I liked it more the second time. Still wasn't one of my favorites of the year, but I thought it was well done.
That's I think one I'd like to cover this year. But anyway, that's all we got for tonight. Come back next week. We'll have another show for you. And Friday, up all night and stuff. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't on YouTube. Appreciate that. And we got one more Chucky movie on the 5-star reviews. Two more. And I think I'm going to go to bed. So have a great night. We'll see you later.
Such sights to show you.
Hell yeah.